Hi, give me a sec. My screencastify takes a while to load. Okay, I'm starting now. I'm Jason Curlin. I teach math 9 through 12. I teach all the maths: geometry, algebra 1, pre-calculus, algebra 2. I teach at Lee High School. Lee High School has little and limited diversity at the actual school. In terms of demographics, we're 90% Black, we're high poverty, 94% free and reduced lunch. Um, we're very low achieving most year. And last year we had nobody pass the math or science ACT Aspire. Um, and scores are actually retrogressing, which is one of the big things I picked up from the data. That if students start one grade level behind in a seventh grade, they're often three grade levels behind in ninth grade. That means as the tests get harder, the students aren't keeping up. In fact, they're falling further behind. Um, Student standard trackers is one of the big things that I've started to implement and want to use more, and where I've gotten some of my data before school let out. I have students before kept data in their own folder, and now they're just being tracked online. So strength and challenges, key content gaps, so students can be remediated all at the same places and all at the same times. Most of the students have high motivation, which I've gotten from Google Forms. It's been harder recently, as I'll explain at the end, because of the online moving online. The systems being built in place at Lee High School are getting more data oriented since the state took over, which is nice. And there's high female buy-in from the Google Forms and Google Sheets and Google surveys that I had students fill out. Weakness is the majority of them are at least a grade level behind. Our STAR assessment, interim STAR assessment, showed that in ninth grade there was not a single student on grade level, which backs up ACT Aspire's test scores from last year. Nobody passed the math, reading, or science ACT Aspire in 10th grade, and nobody passed in the ninth grade level either. Reading, though everything's low, but reading is the lowest across the board, and that makes sense because reading impacts everything. A student cannot do a math word problem if they cannot read correctly. And Lee High has very limited human capital with high turnover. So a couple of the questions is, how do we improve on male motivation? What is the impact of reading on student achievement? And how do we maintain and improve systems in the school that are being developed in the face of high turnover? I've had 4 principals in 5 years, each one doing a different system that they prefer, different data tracker. I like this principal the most in terms of actual getting concrete data, but we might have a new one next year. I can't know. And with tons of teacher turnover, that's another problem. Content area goals: ACT Aspire reading growth, STAR assessment growth, and reading of expository text. What I mean by this is that at the end of the year, instead of being judged based on grade level, student will be judged based on growth. And I got that because, and we got that when I was talking to some of my colleagues, that so many of our students are behind that it's not fair to say, hey, you have to learn 9 grades and be on grade level, right? We want 80% on grade level growth or high achieving growth. Meets expectations growth. So even if the students don't make it all the way, as long as they're making the growth expected of them in a single year, they're doing it appropriately. Also, STAR assessment growth, tracking similar things, student improving from one interim to another. Because of the online movement, we haven't been able to do any more STAR assessments. And then reading of expository text, because a lot of the ACT Aspire stuff is nonfiction. So there's a high importance of reading. Student data trackers that I've developed in their folder. Now that we've moved online, which I'll be talking about in a sec, this data tracker looks a little bit different. And everything that's on the ACT, everything that's on the ACT Aspire, everything we do in life is reading based. You have to be able to read to succeed. So action planning, my process was data tracker research. I looked at a lot of different data trackers I could use. School folders were my favorite, but then online USA test prep stuff, even before we moved to remote learning, has been wonderful. So even before we moved to remote learning, I've been using online and technology pieces. Remote learning has been challenging because of student availability. A lot of my students just aren't available at the times that I might want them to be. Well, that's my time. Have a good day. Bye. If I can end this. Sorry. So it's going to say it's a little bit over because I do not know how to close out of this. There you go.